In this lecture, we are going to take the last 2 or 3 chapters of the first book. Then we will move to the book 2. Starting with chapter 14, which is entitled The Great Manufacturer. Before explaining the chapter, it is a simple question. What is the great manufacturer?
Graduate.
Raise your
Mr.
hand. What is the great manufacturer? Yes, Benin?
Yes, sir. It's about time. Meantime turns out Sissy, Lucilia, and Tom.
Okay, thank you. Ayat?
Yes, sir. When Mr. Grand has become a member of Parliament.
Parliament. Yes. Yes, Ayat. Yes, Ayat, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, so what is the answer? What is the great manufacturer?
Means when Mr. Grand has become a member of Parliament.
Yeah, so you think it means Mr. Gradgrind, right?
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, who else? What is the great manufacturer? What is the great manufacturer? By the way, participation has been given more weight. It is now 8 marks instead of 6. This is the last amendment. Yes, Rahima?
Yes, sir. I think Mar Grand being a member in the government.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Mustafa?
Yes, sir.
Yes, what is the answer? What do you think the answer is?
I couldn't hear the question. Can you repeat it, please?
Yeah. What is the chapter 14 is entitled The Great Manufacturer.
Yes.
What is the great manufacturer?
I think it's the religious beliefs that conceives of the supreme being, the principle of faith or something.
No, thank you, Mustafa. I think you don't have any idea about the great manufacturer. It is very easy if you have read the preparation. Riyam?
Yes, sir. Mr. Gradgrind.
So you think it is Mr. Gradgrind?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Riyadh?
Yes, a great manufacture by the sign of time. Many things changed and cooked at once. After 5 years, Louisa become a beautiful young girl. Tom how started working as a bank our
Sorry. So what is the great manufacturer? Just tell me what do we mean by great manufacturer? It is one thing. Okay, thank you. Bashar? Thank you very much.
I think it refers to Mr. Bounderby.
Bounderby, you think it is about Bounderby?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the great manufacturer is time itself. The great manufacturer is the time itself. Why? Because time is the power that we cannot control. Time is the power that rule our life, and we have nothing to do to change the course of time. For example, we are getting old every day. We cannot stop time. We cannot stop time. So it is the great manufacturer that turns people into another. And here we have the characters for Sissy, Louisa, Tom. They are now young adults. And Tom becomes a clerk in Bounderby's bank. So years ago, and things are changed. So time here is personified. It's personified as the greatest of Cooktown's manufacturers. Cooktown is full of factories, but the greatest, the mightier, the strongest one is what? Is time. For Sissy, she leaves the school, and the system, Gradgrin's system of education is failed in her case. But despite that, Gradgrin feels the sense of goodness in this young woman, and also he turns to be a member of Parliament of Cooktown. And as I told you, Tom becomes a young man and working in Bounderby's bank, and Louisa also, she becomes a young, beautiful woman. Again, in this chapter, we have the symbol of fire is repeated here. She sits watching sparks and ashes in the fireplace. And this image is very important. Why? Because we have said already that fire is associated with imagination, fancy, and not with fact. But we have two things, that the fire and ash. That we have a proverb method in our culture that every fire turns into ash. Every fire turns into ash. So the image of the symbol of fire and ash is a representation or reference for time. Time, for example, the fire starts very strong at the beginning of its life, like the human life. When we become young, like your age, it's full of energy, full of power. When you get older, this power is going to fade gradually. When you get old, for example, in 70s of your age, and then what? Death. This is the stage of ash. It is the stage of ash, vanished, no longer existed. All that power and energy disappeared. And who is the victorious? Who is the winner? It's time itself. It's time itself. So the image here is, fire and ash is compared to time itself. And Tom here, as I told you, asked his sister to marry Bounderby out of his self-interest. And she agrees to marry him. And through Louisa watching distant furnaces of Cooktown, she wonders that what the future will bring. So Time's factory, however, is a sacred place. It is a sacred place. And the image of time as a manufacturer adds to the novel's vision of Cooktown as a place where manufacturing is the only purpose of life. Because what do we have in Cooktown is only factories. Nothing else. We don't have universities, for example. We don't have education. We don't have other facilities that is focused on. Only factories. And people are thought of as units, as if they are what? Machine parts or products. The hands are counted. 1 hand, 2 hands, 3 hands, and so on. They are counted like the goods, like the products they produce in the factories. And here time is said to have turned out Tom a foot taller. Now he becomes taller than Sissy. And we are reminded here of the wonder and mystery of time in human life when we are talking about Secret Factory and Silent Hands. Because, you know, time passes on those hands. Some of them die, some of them retired, some of them get sick, and some still fighting, suffering in this environment of the factories. And also this chapter, the contempt expressed for Parliament. And Parliament here is described as what? Deaf, dumb, dead, honorable gentlemen. And it is going to be repeated also in the other chapters. It is like our Parliament right now. It is corrupted and deaf and dumb and dead. They don't think about the interests of people. They think about the themselves and the bargains and the deals, and how do they embezzle or steal from the government. This is what is related to chapter 14. Chapter 15 is entitled Father and Daughter. And what is it about, if you have come across? What is it about, chapter 15? Yes, Riyam?
Yes, sir. About marriage of Mr. Bonderby.
From
He
whom?
asked,
From whom, Riyam?
Bonderby from Louisa.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Hamida? Saham?
Yes, father and daughter means boundary.
Yes, bounded by and Louisa?
And Louisa.
Okay, I think something wrong. Are you there, Hamida?
Yes,
Okay. So it is about
Bounderby and her daughter Louisa. When
yes, what happens here in this chapter?
When Bounderby raises the prospect of marriage, Louisa seems that she doesn't understand why she is being asked to love Bounderby. Although she is sure that she doesn't love him.
Yes, thank
She
you very
agrees
much.
to marry him.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Benin?
Yes, Professor. It's about Gradgrind and Louisa. First, Mr. Bounderby asked for her hand in marriage, and she refused. And then
She refused? Benin?
Yeah, at the first.
ما رفضت أبدا.
No. She didn't say anything. I'm sorry. She
Yeah,
didn't respond. And then Gradgrind manipulates her in their conversation. He is just trying to convince her to accept this marriage, and it's like a good deal for him, playing on her affection for him. For himself.
Thank you very much, Benin. Benin, the other Benin Sahib.
Yes, sir. This is the chapter talk about Louisa's marriage and how her sacrifice for her brother and she want to sacrifice for her brother because we know how want her marry him for his self-interest, and on other hands show the respect to her father and his decisions. Sorry.
Thank you, Benin. The last one is Shahad Alawi.
Yes.
Yes, Shahad.
Mr. Gradgring called Louisa to talk with her about Mr. Brownby over, and he started to introduce the subject to her, and this called for shadow, which to talk or to told someone about something that will happen in the future in hint way. In opposite, we have for back, which mean to talk or to remember something happened in the
Yes,
past.
thank you very much, Shahad. Thank you. But you forget to tell that the father gradually tells his daughter to use the head and forget the heart, which stresses the idea of, to forget everything about sentiments, the emotions, and eventually Louisa agrees to marry Bounderby. And we have in this chapter something new revealed about Louisa. We are going to talk during our explanation. And a deadly statistical clock ticks. And this is where any graduates study a severe and sinister room. It is a very hateful room full of government blue books. Blue books, the books, the records of the parliament, and it is hateful. Because why? Because this room is full of lies, and everything that is abstract, static. There is no pulse of life. Everything is what? Figures, numbers, statistics. There is nothing that reflects life. For example, there is no colors, beautiful colors or paintings on the wall or decorations. It is only statistics and figures, which makes this room as what? A sinister, evil room. And here the social questions are to be cast up and settled. This is a quotation, like accounts. The graduate receives Louisa here in this room and informs her of Bounderby's proposal of marriage. But there is something important, as I told you, happens in this. When she asks her father if he thinks she loves Bounderby, he dismisses sentiment as irrelevant and tells her to concentrate on the facts. Why do you think she asks him such a question? Louisa asks her father, do you think I love Mr. Bounderby? And why he cannot, Gradgrind cannot answer this question? Shahad? Shahad Alawi.
Yes.
Yes, the answer, please.
What's the question? Sorry.
Okay. Again, the question is that Louisa asks her father if he thinks she loves Bounderby and why he cannot answer her.
Yes. He told her that Mr. Boundby again engaged her, and he asked about her opinion. Here we have Louisa wasn't scared with her father says, and she was looking to other side as if she is sick or sad. She asked whether she is happy or not. she told him that she is happy as she used to.
Okay, thank you very much. Shahid, Ayat?
Yes.
Yes, sir. The one reason because Mr. Grant, he focus on fact. The two reason because there is no sharing of emotion between her and her father. So she says nothing, and she show him that she has never looked for romantic attention.
Yes, thank you very much. Mustafa?
Thank you, sir. I totally agree with my colleague Ayat.
Okay. Benin Ali?
I think because she didn't receive any romantic attention, and Grand and Grind didn't feel in love ever, and there was a colder relationship between them, so they didn't share any discussion or talk moments, understanding between each other. That's why I think.
Yes, thank you very much. Huda?
Yes, doctor. She asked her
Huda.
father whether, yes,
Yes.
she asked her father whether asked her to leave Mr. Bounderby. He told her that he don't want from her to talk about this. She must think locally about this. She was looking at fire, and she wondered how the life is short. She
Thank
answered
you very
her
much, Huda.
father. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much, Huda. Riyadh, the last.
Yes. When Mr. Grand told Mr. Grand that her daughter will be Mr. Vanderby, Sissy was in front of Louisa, and when she heard this, she started looking at her in pity, emotion, and wonder.
Thank
Yes.
you, Riyadh. Thank you for you all.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You know, we know this kind of question, but it is a kind of a puzzle for a man like Gradgrind. When she asks if he thinks she loves Bounderby, he dismisses sentiment, and you know, we have something in our culture, فاقد الشيء لا يعطيه. For Gradgrind cannot answer her and cannot focus on the idea of love and the senses, since he has no idea about such he called trivial things, and ask her to focus on the facts and uses her mind. But we can conclude from her question that she never loves Bounderby, but she agrees for certain reasons that you have mentioned, for Tom and for her father, obedience for her father. But as far as love is concerned, she is not in any kind of relation, or she doesn't have any kind of tendency towards Bounderby. Bounderby is 50 and she's 20, so there is some difference in age. Gradgrind, he expects her to think rationally in her mind, free from nonsense, which means free from emotions. But for a moment, Louisa feels impelled, forced, you know, something forced her to throw herself on his breast and reveal the bent-up confidence of her heart. This is a quotation, which means what? She has that kind of a moment, you know. There is a kind between a daughter or a son and his father and his mother. Sometimes, and here in this moment for Louisa, she feels that she needs to hold her father, to embrace, to hug her father, and just tell him what does she really feel. But, you know, this kind of attraction, or we call it feeling is not reciprocal, is not mutual between the two parts. The father doesn't show any sign of sympathy with the daughter, so that she has kept these emotions in her heart without expressing this to the father. But Gradgrind cannot sense how she feels. Never. He cannot. It is away from him. And watching the smoke from the factory chimneys from her window, Louisa exclaims that the scene by day is covered in smoke. At night, fire burst out. And the fire, this quotation, fire burst out, is also repeated. We have taken it in the previous chapters. What does it mean? Fire burst out. Explosion mean fire explodes. What does it mean? She looks at the fire and she feels that fire burst out. Didn't you remember? We have talked about this last time. Yes, Huda?
Yes, she was looking at fire and she wondered how the life is short.
And thank
she
you, Huda.
answered her father.
Yes, yeah.
She answered.
Yes,
She
thank you very much,
answered her
Huda.
father that she is agree about Mr. Boundary, afraid.
Yes. She answered, but I mean, what does the word here, the phrase fire bursts out, which means at night when she is alone and she looks at the fire, even in our life when we are alone, especially at night, you are going to remember certain things that happened to you, and your mind starts to work. And here for her, fire bursts out means what? The fire is the emotions and the feelings. They are going to explode in the night. She is going to remember all what she has done during the day or in the past. Gradgrind cannot imagine what she means by that. She now consents, agrees to marry Bounderby. And when Mrs. Gradgrind, her mother, hears the news, she is baffled about what to call her son-in-law. She cannot use his surname. She has to call him Josiah. But we have another character who is Sissy. Sissy blames Louisa, and indirectly through looking at her in pity, which means what? She is not consent. I mean, Sissy is not pleased with this reckless or rash decision. This stage here in the novel structure is very important. The title here, Father and Daughter, attracts our attention to the ironic point that his fatherly guidance and her dutiful obedience have culminated in this unnatural scene. Ironic because we depend on our fathers and we take our father as what? As guide, a model, example. And we feel safe in his wisdoms, right? In his consultations. But irony comes here when the father himself is what? Is taking her the wrong course, the wrong way. Not because of her benefit, but for his own benefit. So it is the climax of Gradgrind's experiment with Louisa's upbringing, because he teaches her how to suppress sentiment, and the only way to protest for Louisa is in the image of fire bursting out, similar to Coketown furnace in the night. similar, as we have said, to the furnaces of the factories. And Gradgrind indeed has no notion or no idea about the fire as a symbol of forces that cannot be measured or predicted. And we may reflect that Gradgrind has always acted with the best intentions. Yeah, we do agree that Gradgrind has maybe good intentions, unlike Bounderby, who thinks totally about himself. Mrs. Gradgrind here, unable to address Bounderby properly, is one of the several characters who have trouble with others' names. She is clumsy, you know, clumsy, and she cannot even call Bounderby properly by his name. And this is created a kind of satire for naming, or the philosophy to be blamed, especially that is related to Louisa's marriage. This is the last chapter in book 1. Book the second will start with the chapter 1, which is entitled Effects in the Bank. Effects in the Bank. This chapter is a transitional or a link between the book 1 and the second one. I mean book 2. We have here in this chapter Mrs. Sparset, and she's talking to Pitzer, and they are gossip. You know gossip?
Yes, sir. Hearing.
Yes. Gossip, backbiting. يعني قص. قصهم بالوادم. Backbiting. So they are talking about Tom Gradgrind and how he has become a handsome, well-dressed, and working in the bank, and he is trying to get positions in the bank gradually. And here we have introduced for the first time for a new character, which is James Harthouse. James Harthouse is recommended by Gradgrind to work with Mr. Bounderby and to be a member of Parliament of Coketown. He is young, handsome, well-dressed, gentle. As described, this is the appearance of him. But what is important here in this chapter, that the tone here, the tone is written with sarcasm, with fun, mock. And Dickens uses the word "a wonder" as irony, because there is little wonder to be had in Coketown. Coketown is a dead city. Coketown is a dead city. There is nothing to wonder about. Only factories and hands are working from day to night. So it is not a real, complete, perfect, or ideal city to talk about. And it is called the evil eye. The evil eye glaring over Coketown is an intense foreshadowing, evil eye, intense foreshadowing of Bounderby's unraveling as any other image in the novel. The shroud here is a symbol of death and dying, decay and destruction. And also we have a reference allusion of Babel, Tower of Babel, which is mentioned in the Old Testament story, and explains that excessive pride of humans will eventually topple their enterprises. Yani too much pride. The allusion used of Babel, Tower of Babel, Babylon, we mean Babylon, is a reference for excessive pride, excessive vanity. You know vanity? Do you know the meaning of vanity?
No, sir.
Vanity means غرور. excessive, يعني too much vanity.
So it's a synonym for pride, right?
Yes, yes.
And ego.
It is similar to pride, and you know it is the bad connotation, the bad habits or the bad feature of man to be vain or to be very proud of himself. And you know, because at the end, all humans, the pride of humans will fall. Also, moreover, the image of hell and punishment is reinforced by the very sharp description of cities' climates as frying in oil. Frying in oil. Why? Because, you know, it is a city full of factories and it is too hot. It is like something fried in the oil. And the use of the word aspiring is a pun. You know pun? P-U-N. Pun.
Wordplay.
It is the playing. It means playing with words. It means playing with the meaning of words. Refers both to upward motion of smoke, to the smoke in the city, and also refers to the yearnings, longings, wishes of the poor. And so the metaphor is employed when the fragility of the townspeople is understood by their being weak China. Weak China, it is China, the country. It is weak at that time. And Dickens refers to posture, the appearance of Mrs. Sparsit when she is sitting, and makes her into equivalent of the Fates. The Fates are the gods of death in Greek mythology, or like Madame Defarge. Madame Defarge is one of the characters in his in Dickens' novel, A Tale of Two Cities. And he uses this image to tell us about the trappings of social class and position. Which is going to be to fade away. So this is what is related to chapter 1 in the book 2. For chapter 2, we have Mr. James Harthouse. Who's James Harthouse? Do you have any idea?
Can I answer?
Yes, you had.
Yes. This a young man who is affluent and bored of this mind. He is one of the followers of the act of Mr. Gradgrind philosophy. When he being aboard Mr. Gradgrind told him to go to make some change. This young man, an autocratic and rich young man. The meaning of this his name have two meaning, which called pun. The word have meaning from a spelling point of view and sounds. From point of view, Harthouse means the male deer. House, and this animal used to be jealous about his wife. And from sound, a point of view, when the tongue seems as it pronounced, it is Harthouse, which means that man who treat others by his feeling and emotions with this heart, not his mind.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
Ayat.
Yes, sir. As Shahad, she say anything, I will add something. He is a manipulate character, and he has a dissipative art, for of placing whomever, and is bored with the world.
Yes, thank you very much. We have, yes, Riyadh.
Yes, when Mr. Harthouse meet Mr. Bounderby, he asked him where's Cooktown. Otherwise, the truck and Claude asked why Mr. Bounderby told him that this small is the drink and
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Riyadh. Thank you, I do appreciate. James Harthouse, as we have said already, he is a gentleman, cynic, and he wants to join politics and to meet Bounderby and to be a member of Parliament in Cooktown. Starting with the name, Harthouse, as your colleague said, you know, it is full with H sounds and reflects the superficial. And here, his name reflects the superficial, merely skin-deep qualities of this aristocrat on the main. Which means what? It means that this man is only a kind of appearance, a gentleman in his appearance, but in depth, he is different. He's a cunning, cynic, and wicked man, trying to exploit, trying to manipulate others for his own benefit. The word heart, which is similar to the word heart, suggests that love might be central to this character, but this is not the idea. But his name is ironic because Harthouse is a smooth operator, manipulator, who plays with lonely Louisa out of passing infatuation. He's trying to seduce, to tempt Louisa. He's rather than a person of strong sentiment or feeling. Harthouse is calculating, as I told you, and cynical. Okay? So he's not sincere in everything he says. Bounderby here is proud of his low origins. He says, as Harthouse is of his upper class background. And this makes them equals. He introduces, and this is something ironic, for Gradgrind introduces Harthouse to Louisa, and Harthouse intrigued by her bright sensitivity and repressed emotion. He talks with superficial wit, saying he has no beliefs. And self-interest is the only reality for him. And when Tom arrives later for dinner, Harthouse makes advantage of this. He notices that Louisa smiles for the brother. And what? He takes into consideration that Tom is going to influence his sister. And he pretends to be friend to Tom. And they have to live together to get information from him. So Harthouse depicts a social type, the languid and cynical aristocrat who affects to be bored. And Dickens really hates this character. He likes to imply that having seen it through everyone else shows he is the cleverest. This is for Harthouse. Dickens' plans for the novel show that he wanted readers to understand that Harthouse's cynical admission of selfishness is morally equivalent to Gradgrind's theory of self-interest. And something, as I told you, ironic that Gradgrind recommended a man who will attempt to seduce his daughter. The conversation between Bounderby and Harthouse explains that what was said in the previous chapter about the attitude of the Cooktown owners. Bounderby says, our smoke, and this is a quotation, our smoke, he says, is the healthiest thing in the world, and particularly for the lungs. And this is something ironic. There is no smoke good for lungs. And as for the hands, they expect to be fed on turtle soup and venison with gold spoon. And this is a kind of sarcasm, a kind of underestimation for the hands. As if what? That Gradgrind has done something great for them. Something, whether it is medical, food, payment, for the hands to be proud of. So according to him, they are living in what is called luxurious life. Chapter 3 is entitled The Well, and it is a short chapter. But before that, what is meant by the well? Yes, Mustafa?
A puppy? I saw puppy.
Yes. Yes. Rahima, if you are still there.
Yes, sir. James Hurt was killed. Tom is well, which mean the dog or that person who worked to get his dessert with no intention to others, whether they will hurt or not, he will consider himself. Firstly, then he will think about others.
Thank you very much. Noor?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Noor? You raise your hands. Noor, رافعة ايدك انت. Do you have the answer or something to add or not? Noor, you are here. It is okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, دكتور.
The whelp here, as you...
نتي قطع ما أسمع.
Yes, when Noor? Yes, no. Yes, okay.
Yes, yes.
So what is the answer? What is the whelp?
The whelp, Mr. James Harthouse killed Tom as well, which means the dog or that person who worked to get his dessert with no intention to others, whether they will hurt or not. He will consider himself firstly, then money. He will think about others.
Yes, thank you very much. And just to remind you, last previous chapters, Tom has been called a donkey, and now is what? Is a whelp, similar the puppy, a dog. And Harthouse make use of this whelp, of this person, and Harthouse is agreeable demon. You know demon, something evil. It drinks with Tom, the whelp, and learns about Louisa. We have said previously that Harthouse takes advantage of the little mind of Tom, the inability to think clearly or correctly about things. And he takes him, Harthouse takes him to the bar, and when he gets drunk, he starts to tell him everything about Louisa and their father and any other thing that he wants to know. And Harthouse reveals the ugly face of him. He traps that man, that person, in this place to interrogate, to question him. And for what? What is the purpose? The purpose is to know how to seduce, to tempt Louisa correctly. in what way he is going to come and seduce Louisa. And while they drink and smoke together, Harthouse impresses Tom with his relaxed and knowledge of the world. Tom quickly gets drunk and brags that Louisa only married Bounderby for his sake. Harthouse despises, hates the well, but is glad of the information. This scene here, in this short chapter, where Harthouse seemed so sure of himself, kicking Tom awake with his boot. Kicking Tom with his boots. It is a foreshadowing for a confrontation between Sissy and Harthouse in the same room in book 3. When Sissy is going to kick Harthouse out of Coketown forever. She is going to face him when he is trying to seduce or to tell lies to Louisa. But Tom right now is unaware of the whole trick, the whole plan of Harthouse. He believes that Harthouse is a kind of person that he can be accompanied, can be befriended, is not aware of the, as I told you, of the wicked plan of that person towards his sister. And with this chapter, we are finishing our lecture for today. I hope if you have any question or any comment, any addition, I'm ready to hear. Yes, Benin?
Yes, sir. The title of the third chapter in the German language, right?
Sorry, you mean the James Harthouse or the well? The well?
Well, yes.
No, it is English. Maybe the origin is German. I mean, it is used, Benin, in English.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, maybe, the origin, the etymology of the words are different. We have, in English, we have different words of different origins, but what is important, it is used in English language. Yes, Riam?
Yes, sir. I have a question about Mr. Sparsit.
Mrs.
Why she hate? Yes, Mrs. Sparsit. Why she hate Louisa, and why she talk about Louisa to James, and she help to tempt Louisa.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, Riam, we have said in the previous lectures that Mrs. Sparsit, she feels jealous of Louisa because we analyze this kind of jealous as being what? She has some feelings. She loves Mr. Bounderby and she doesn't want Louisa to come and take him from her. This is one thing. As far as her talk to Harthouse about Louisa, she's trying to find any possible way to get rid of Louisa. She wants to get rid of Louisa, and she will come in this step. I mean, maybe she has a feeling that Harthouse has some appealing, some tendency, some attraction towards Louisa, and she helps this, but not for the benefit of Harthouse. No, for her benefits.
Mm.
In the end, she is going to win Bounderby.
Okay.
Okay, Riam?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question, addition?
أستاذ العفو أستاذ.
Yes.
أستاذ الدرس الخامس ما قاعد ينزل عندي بالجهاز. حاولت